Excellent. There. Good delay. All right, gentlemen.
I think
good
I'm set.
morning and welcome to the show.
All right, exciting.
Yes, very exciting. I'd like to introduce our new friend, Mr. Colton Lukey.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for taking the time to do this, Colton. This is great.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, congratulations on your 1,000 subs.
Wow, yeah, thank you very much. That came faster than I ever thought.
Yeah,
It's a big deal.
That is a
big deal in the YouTube world.
We can only aspire to be there sooner than later, or
We
later
got a
than
plan.
sooner. But we have a plan.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
working.
you guys will be
So
there in
far-
no time.
So far, we're right on track.
We are on track for something. So just in case, I would imagine that some of our subscribers already are subscribers to Mr. Lukey's channel as well. But just in case they're not, Mr. Lukey is a very young man who is doing very well for himself in the investing in real estate world. When he was 22, he started off with $10,000 and he has turned it into a real estate empire. And we are going to hopefully learn something new today. Because God knows we could.
We got lots to learn.
We have got
That's
lots
for sure. I
to
know
learn.
Darryl pretty well, and I can speak for us, and we know a lot less than we don't know.
We know a lot less than we think we know.
Yep.
That's for sure. So, Mr. Lukey, I would love to kind of hear your story. I'll tell you, I wish that I was doing what you're doing at your age, right? I've been trying to, I teach my kids to do exactly what you're doing, and I wish that I was able to do it or even knew to do it at your age. So my first question is like, how did you get into this and how did you know how to do it?
Yeah, so that's kind of a perfect segue into it. It was exactly what you said. I kept hearing, older people like my parents, other family members saying, "Oh, I wish I would have bought more rental properties. I wish I would have never sold the first home I ever bought because obviously it's worth double, if not triple, what it's worth today." And that kind of stuck in my head from a really young age. I remember hearing that at like 16 or 17 and being like, real estate. And I was always entrepreneurial. I'd always have little ventures in high school, elementary school, rather than selling Pokemon cards or buying and selling things on Kijiji. And then what really happened was my first year of college, I had a professor who said, anyone can buy a house. You just have to be disciplined, save some money, and you do something where you live in one half and you rent out the other. And I said, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. And then you have your tenants pay your mortgage. And I go, oh, well, then it doesn't cost me anything to live. And that stuck in my head even more. And then I started learning more and more about real estate that way. And finally, I reached out to that professor again and said, hey, I want to buy a property the next year. And that was in year 2 of college. And by year 3, after I graduated, I was able to purchase a property just by saying, he told me, hey, find a property that's under market value, save some money, save $10,000 if you can for a down payment. Back then, $10,000 would give you a down payment, move into it, rent out, live in the basement, and there's your first house. And that's exactly what I did. And that was in 2016. And then thanks to obviously the huge market appreciation we saw in Canada over the last 5 years or so, I was able to refinance that property, pull out a heck of a lot of equity, and I rolled that into property number 2, property number 3, 4, and etc. So it all started with one property, and it all started from just listening to, man, I wish I never would have sold that property. And that stuck with me.
Wow. And so the first $10,000, where did that come from?
That was majority savings. I was working 2-3 jobs in college. Also, I did a little bit in the stock market. I got lucky on a couple stocks. The marijuana stocks was popular back then. So made a few $1,000s doing that. And yeah, that was pretty much it.
Wow.
It's a good start. I mean, and you say back then, I love it. You're like back then. And I'm like, okay, yeah 10,000. I'm like 15 years ago. I'm like, this is, and then you're like 2016. So this is, I hear you. And I think you're humble about it, but I don't think that you should, I think you should give yourself more credit, like there was a deal, you found it. you saved up the money, you made it work, and that people can still do that today. They just got to look hard, and there's lots of opportunities out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's people ask me, you know, how do I still find properties today? And it's exactly that, right? Keep looking, search hard for deals, right? Do things that other people aren't doing, right? Rather it's door knocking or it's doing keywords in Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji or whatever, right? And just try and think outside the box, and you'll see a lot of opportunities come your way.
There's not a ton of opportunities. They're out there though. There's more than enough to go around. What there is a lot of is excuses.
Yes,
Lots
absolutely.
Nothing
excuses.
but excuses. It's all I hear. It's all I can come up with most of the time. But there's plenty of opportunities.
Yeah.
Right?
So now I've watched your videos and I love your content. It's really, really interesting, especially for me, because I mean, I used to do renovations. I can't stand doing renovations, but where you, I think, are able to make opportunities where some people aren't is that you have an ability to see what it will look like later, right? When you, for example, the house you're working on right now, when we all first saw that house, it wasn't something that most people could visualize what it looks like today, right? But you walked into it, I think you walked into it the first day and you knew what it was going to look like today.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's about visualizing, and obviously that comes with experience, but the worst house I ever bought was still my very first house. And I still had that vision back then, right? That with a few $1,000s, some paint, some flooring, right? You don't need much to make a house look nice. And that's what I tell a lot of younger investors is, you know, majority of real estate, as long as it's not crumbling to the ground, it's paint, it's flooring, it's all cosmetic stuff.
Did you have construction experience before?
No, none. So everything was pretty much either, I mean, my dad's an electrician, so that helps, but not very experienced in
not formal
construction really.
training.
Yeah.
It was like learning on the fly. That's good.
YouTube. Yeah.
Well, and another thing that I got from watching your videos is, and in my experience, to be quite honest, is like some people live friggin' disgusting. Like some people are just gross. So, you know, when we see a property, it doesn't have to turn into the most luxurious, perfect property in order to get a good tenant. Right?
That's right. I'm all about strategic renovations, right? Like every house I've pretty much bought in has either smelled like cat pee, dog pee, or terrible cigarette smoke, right? But you can easily get rid of all that stuff, right? You can get rid of all that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. And it doesn't cost a lot to get rid of that either. And then, yeah, like you just strategically renovate. I'm not putting granite countertops in my rentals. I'm putting laminate countertops. I'm repainting kitchen cupboards as long as they're in decent shape, right? I'm not putting in a lot of brand new kitchens. So at the end of the day, I hate saying that it's a rental because I don't like, it's a business and every house should be in good condition, should be livable. But at the end of the day, it is a rental. It is going to see more abuse, most likely, than my home that I live in. I can take more care of it, right? The homes that you guys live in. At the end of the day,
I think the method that you're doing right now, that's been more mainstream. It's always existed. It's not like it's something that hasn't been around. It's what everyone's always been doing. It's just now being labeled. Flipping was really big. So when I was your age and we were renovating and we were flipping and we were involved in all sorts of stuff, and I was getting hands on dirty, and I don't want to do that anymore. That's the truth. That's what everyone thought. And so I think the markets were going up in a way. Opportunities were there more. I just don't think flipping is a really good process that is going to be repetitive. Like it's always about opportunity. Like, can you actually get a property that's going to make sense, that at the end you're actually going to net money? So hanging on to it and keeping it as a rental is just, I mean, honestly, it was actually the contingency plan when I was doing it. It wasn't plan A. Yeah. It was, well, hey, if I can't flip it and get my money out, then I'll just end up turning it into a rental. And now people are like, look, the market's up here and it's hard. There's no room. It's like, this is what you got to do now. Now you got to put the money in, refinance. But what I want to know about is cash flow, because that's the biggest issue that everyone's looking at is what are the,
what's your formula
for cash flow? Well, like, what are you, what's your mindset going into it? Because obviously putting in all that equity, you can build up a huge amount of cash flow, but then your money's tied up, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
where is your sort of threshold to say, hey, not dollar amount, I don't need to know that, but just like,
Well,
where's your comfort level?
no, so a dollar amount, I always try to aim for $1,000 a month cash flow, and that's after all expenses. And
After the
then
refinance?
that's after refinance is anywhere from 700 to 1,000.
Okay.
Right. So going into the deal first, I want to make it 1,000 in case I'm not able to refinance my money right away. Right. Like who knows what could happen. Banks could say no more refinances, whatever it is. But I always want to say at least $1,000 going into the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the refi, after renovations, I always try to hit at least 700 to 1,000. And the current project that Darryl saw, or that's watching me on YouTube, that one after the refi is probably going to be around 12 to 1,300.
Wow.
Right.
That's really
so
good. Yeah.
it all depends on the deal itself.
Mm-hmm.
But
why would you not keep it as a rental? Right?
Exactly it, right? And that's going to be like a full refi. I'm hoping, knock on wood, that I'm going to get back all of my money and then some because, again, bought smart on the buy.
Upside was
right?
there.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily like a special formula. I just, deduct everything, including repairs and vacancies. I don't add in property management because I manage my properties myself. Okay. But I know that at $1,000 a month cash flow, I'm still going to be fine, even if I have to manage it out one day.
Yeah.
Right.
$1,000 a month cash flow in Toronto, I think you would pretty much have to pay cash for something.
He said negative cash flow, right? That's what he said?
Yeah, I think I heard negative cash flow.
I think Toronto equals negative cash flow. I'm not kidding. I mean, don't you have to put in like 70% equity in Toronto now to get something to do $1,000 a month?
Crazy.
It's crazy.
I know, and there's so many people that are living in Toronto that are investing in the Niagara region now, or London or Windsor, because that's where the deals are. That's where the cash flow is, right?
That's for those type of investors. Everybody's like, I meet lots of different investors, and there's the guys who want to live on the same street as their rental property, who want to be able to watch it every single day and don't care if they're losing $500 a month, because to them that's worth it for them. Like that's their investment strategy because they know that it's going to appreciate. And then there's guys who will literally go and look at their properties once ever and do everything else through video and never see them again. Yeah. Right. So everyone's got a different comfort level too, right? So
exactly, everyone's got a different risk tolerance.
Exactly.
So now on the current project, how did you find that deal?
It was on the MLS. So something I preach a lot on. Like I coach a few students here and there, and I always say, everyone that goes on the MLS clicks the new listings first. Click the old listings, because the last 2 of my 3 deals I all found because they were sitting on the MLS, simply because either they were conditions fell through, and the real estate agent never reposted it as a new ad. So it just fell further and further behind. And that's exactly what happened to this one. I think it was sitting for like 2 months or something like that. And there was just terrible tenants in it, very smelly, as you probably heard in my video. I wish there was smell-o-vision, but yeah. And it was just one of those, again, sitting on the MLS, got passed by a bunch of investors. Nobody went through it. And sure enough, it was there, and I jumped all over it.
So look at that. So something listed on the MLS, Colton was able to turn into potentially $1,200 a month. And everybody in Toronto is like, I can't find a good deal. Everybody's looking to steal somebody's condo right now in order to get like, not even a good deal, like a better deal.
They'll lose money every month.
Still get screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, in Toronto, if you didn't count Airbnb as part of your formula, it was not going to make any money, right? Unless you put in a ton of equity. And we all know that the name of the game in real estate is to kind of lever your opportunity so that you can, I guess, have more opportunities, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Leverage is key, right? In real estate.
It definitely is super helpful. Now, so your story, you started with 10,000, you refinanced, bought other properties. Do you have any investors that are behind you, or are you just a one-man show?
No. So I have 2 partners that are, one's a good friend of mine. We own 2 properties together. And then another one is my former boss actually wanted to invest with me. And we own a duplex together in Welland as well. And then I'm a silent partner on another one. And the rest I own myself.
The rest. Okay. What is your current count, sir?
So my current count with all of them in general is total of, I got it written down here, 6 properties, 18 units.
6 properties, 18 doors for a total
4 years.
monthly cash flow of?
Oh God, I haven't counted that, but probably around.
Too much to count. Look at Mr.
No,
Too
it's
much to
not
count.
that. I bet you I could. It's probably in around 4,500 a month, in around there.
Beautiful. Yeah, 4 years. I mean, again, the number one thing I hear, and so you'll start to hear this, as time goes on, is I'm too old, right? I should have done it when I was your age. I don't have enough time. I want to get I want to make it big. So I'm not going to focus on these small little duplexes because they're not going to bring me in enough equity by the time I need to retire. Like all these excuses.
And look, you can.
Those excuses, they said the same thing in 2016. I
Yeah.
remember, right? And
yeah.
they probably doubled the value of their property if they would have bought a duplex.
The prices are too high. I should have bought in 2010. It's 2016, right? Like
That's
all
what I
these
heard,
things.
right?
I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody.
I can't
does it.
stand tenants. Tenants are terrible, right?
I don't
So
want to
3
fix toilets. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you know how many toilets I fixed in 4 years?
Zero.
Yeah.
You buy a good
Right.
toilet.
You buy a good toilet. Yeah, do a flush.
Hire a good plumber, buy a good toilet. No fix a toilets.
Mhm.
Okay, so the first one you needed 10 grand. This current one, what kind of a down payment are we at these days?
Yeah, so this one, closing costs and everything was, I believe, $72,000. And then I'm going to put around $15,000 into it. Might be a little bit more because I'm adding a couple nicer, like, sort of features to it just to try and test out that type of market a little bit. But let's just say 20,000. So all in,
100 grand.
about 75 plus another 20. We're at 95,000.
And you'll do most of the work yourself?
No. No. So I hire majority of the work out. I now just try to do no more than just painting. I'll paint. Yeah, everything
Leave it
else
to the guys who are fast and know what they're doing.
Exactly. It gives me the time to focus on other parts of the business as well, right? To keep looking at deals, to grow my YouTube channel, right? Whatever it is, I just got more time to dedicate to what it is I actually want to do, which is not laying flooring and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I did that to start, right? And I think that's key, that when you're getting started in real estate, especially as a young person, do a lot of the work yourself, or try to, because then you learn the true cost of it, right? Like my first property, I was hanging drywall, I was putting up framing, I was laying flooring. Not that the walls were straight, but I learned how to do it and I learned the true cost of it, right? And I think that was a big thing that helped me grow in real estate.
That's a good piece of advice.
That's a great piece of advice.
And know what's really a pain in the ass so that you can say to yourself, that guy's going to do it and he's going to have it done in 3 days, whatever he needs, I'll pay that price because what he's got to go through. Yeah.
Exactly. Mudding and taping is one of those things, and sanding. I will never do that again.
Yeah.
Never.
No.
Good for you.
Absolutely. So how has the current world situation affected your business?
Yeah. So when this whole thing started in March, I bought 2 properties in 2 weeks, and I closed on one March 5th, and I closed on one April 1st or April 2nd, whatever, the first Friday or Monday there. And that was very scary. I was obviously nervous, global pandemic, right? No one has to pay rent. It's like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? One of those projects was a flip that me and my partner were doing that went good. We were happy with that. But the biggest challenge, and still today, is the shutdowns, because we are obviously ordering materials and they're either 2x4s are triple the price, or they're sold out everywhere. So I'm driving something. I drove to Stony Creek, which is 45 minutes away, just to pick up quarter round, because every store in that region was sold out. So I'm seeing a lot of that. That's definitely been a struggle. But in terms of rent and stuff like that, we had a couple tenants that needed some payment plans, which I had no problem doing. I reached out to all of them, like most landlords did, I think, at the time, and just came up with a simple payment plan. And since then, everyone's paid up, everyone's paid in full, and luckily, everything went well.
Oh, that's
so
great.
I wasn't affected too much. Just more of a
nerve-wracking though.
Renovating was the timelines. I'd say a renovation that should have took 4 weeks, probably took 8, just because waiting for materials and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've never been involved in a renovation that went according to plan. Have you?
This one that I'm doing right now might be.
Okay.
Might be.
It's not
You
over yet.
just
It's not over
jinxed
yet.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Knock on
Yeah.
wood. Where's the good wood? I don't have good wood.
Where's the good wood?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's we are actually 2 days ahead of schedule, so
Wow.
it might go well.
I hope I didn't jinx it for you, sir.
I hope you didn't either.
Did you apply for? Did you have to apply for any of the government helping benefits for your tenants to help them? No.
No, I just I reached out to him and say, hey, obviously, everyone is affected. If you guys need any sort of payment plan, let me know. Right, let's figure something out now, rather than a month from now. Right, and the ones that did, unfortunately lose their jobs. They reached out to me and, hey, can we split it up into 2 payments? Yep, no problem, right? Or 3 payments. And yeah, I didn't have to apply for any government subsidy or anything like that. I just worked with my tenants. And I think that's key, is that's everyone's like worst fear when they get involved in real estate is tenants, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's where tenant screening really comes in handy, right? Like it's honestly the most important thing, because it will make or break you in real estate, in my opinion.
Sorry, TK, go ahead.
Have you created any legal units with the zoning permits?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got no rent control on those units?
I guess technically not.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, but I'm not the one that's gonna jack rents up by $100 or $200 a month just because whatever, right? Like I'll do the standard 2.2%. We're not allowed it this year, obviously. They froze it, but I'll just do the standard 2% or 2.2%. I'm not, again, good tenants. I'm not going to gouge someone for an extra $150, $200 a month for.
But I think it adds value for when you sell the property.
Oh, absolutely. But see, a lot of my properties I'm buying, I'm getting them vacant, or they're already vacant, right? So I'm able to get top dollar rents as soon as I'm done renovating, right? And that's another key when I'm looking at deals. If I'm looking at a triplex and they're all 2 bedrooms and they're all paying $600 a month, I'm going to pass. It's not even worth taking on the headaches and the probably negative cash flow at that point to deal with that. So I'd rather just wait, stay focused for a better deal to come out, and I'll jump all over that one. Right.
So you'll ask for vacant possession, or you'll look for vacant. You see what the opportunity.
I'll look for vacant. I'll ask, see if the mutual agreement at N11 can be signed. Right. Yeah. And that's part of my conditions. And if they say no, then go from there.
Smart.
Amazing. Yeah. So like, I'm reading an article here. Ontario breaks single-day record with 3,363 new cases today, 95 deaths over the past 2 days. This is all of Ontario. Most of the action is obviously nowhere near where you are, but I'm imagining, you're talking about close downs out there. Is there like an air of this isn't fair? Like, it's not really bad here. Why are you doing this to us? Like,
yeah, it's a lot of people are, and personally me as well, I feel that way. But again, I'm not gonna the type of guy that's just gonna get hung up on it, right? And bitch and complain the whole entire time, right? Okay, this is what we have to deal with. Let's figure out a way. Let's keep pushing forward. Sooner or later, this has to end. Right. But do I think it's unfair? Yeah. Right. Especially when cases, they have gone up here, but they're not obviously nowhere near other cities.
Sure.
But it's an interesting topic. And I don't know if we should get fully into it today.
No, we don't have to get fully into it. One thing that I do want to get everybody's opinion on, I'll tell you, it's burning my ass a great deal, is the Canadian politicians who traveled during the holidays amid a coronavirus pandemic. And like, this is a list here. This is not like that one first guy. Like, this is a list of people they caught so far. How do we feel about this? Because, we talked before the show started, me and Colton. I'm on a serious lockdown, and we're probably more afraid than most people, but it really irks me, for lack of a better term, that, we're sitting here hunkered down. My business is affected on so many levels. My income is shrunk to almost nothing. And people that we've elected into office who are still getting their full salaries are in Hawaii and Greece and God knows where, and using excuses like my mother's sick and I haven't seen her. Meanwhile, I've been watching videos of people, touching hands with their grandmother or mother through a glass door at a retirement home. How do you guys feel about this?
Well, Colton, I'm the more compassionate one out of the two of us. And so Darryl, he doesn't have a lot of empathy for anybody who's not doing what they should be. But I think politicians, especially the bigger ones, are under a lot of pressure and are under a lot of stress. And yeah, they're still getting paid also, but I'm sure their jobs suck. I'm sure having people, stop you in the street telling you how bad of a job you're doing or how good that's probably not something easy. And I think they needed a vacation, to be honest with you. Like, I'm sure they did. The bigger issue I would have would be if they were doing something that we weren't allowed to do officially. Like if they were, caught in a gym class with, 20 different people or something, then I would be like, wow, like, I can't believe you're doing that. Like, you should be fined. But we are allowed to travel. We are allowed to leave the country. Maybe they're recommending that you're not supposed to, but there is flights available. And if you ended up booking a vacation and stuff, and I get the finance minister, maybe that was a different story because he's the one directly saying what people should and shouldn't do. But as far as like a city councilor or something like that going on, like go take some time off, read, come back and do the job that we elected you to do, right? I mean, I'm not as adversely affected from somebody going on vacation as other people do. And I believe that right now we're in a cancel culture and complaints, Karen society. So I think that's why all these articles are coming out and it's not just Canadian politicians, American, European, everybody in the world is having the same storyline right now with their elected officials. So
yeah, my opinion
my heart's
is
big,
that,
guys. My heart's big.
Yeah, my opinion is that we live in a free country and you can do whatever you want. If you want to go travel. It's at your own risk, right? As long as you come home, you quarantine for the 14 days and you're not an idiot, do it, right? I think we're a very fine line in this country right now with certain freedoms, whether it's freedom of speech, right? Or whatever it is. We're testing some boundaries right now. And again, this is my opinion. And I think we have to make sure that we don't lose what this country was founded about. And that was being free, right? People come from all over the world into Canada because it's a free country. There's opportunities. And I'm a firm believer of that. So if you want to go to Hawaii or Mexico, go. You're allowed. Just when you come home, take the proper precautions.
Negative COVID test as of January 7th, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Sure. Do it. Right? Absolutely.
18 doors in 4 years. Colton knows what he's talking about.
I would
right?
listen to
Opportunities are here. Opportunities are here. Make it work.
Absolutely.
Right? Don't take them away from us. Come on, Darryl. Where's the positive articles?
Flight
Where's
to
the
the
good ones?
suburbs could last beyond the pandemic, says online realtor Zoocasa. Now, this, I imagine, will have some kind of positive effect on Colton and his business.
Yeah, we've been seeing that. Well, it started back in 2017 with the whole GO Train expansion. And then this, everyone seems to be leaving the big cities and moving to London, moving to Hamilton, Sudbury, right? Niagara region. It's great. Like I said, it's great for those surrounding areas. It's hard. I don't know if companies are always going to allow their employees to work from home. Like
he knows what articles we're bringing up today. Oh my.
Google pushes return to office to September and will text flexible work week.
Yeah, the way I look at it is a lot of these big corporations, whether that's banks or it's insurance companies or all these people working from home now, they still have 10 or 15-year leases on these massive buildings in downtown Toronto. And they're not going to stop paying all of a sudden. At least I don't think they are, because then we're going to have a bigger collapse in commercial real estate.
Unless you're Hudson's Bay.
Unless you're
Hudson's Bay, which, when you've been around for 300 years, I guess you can do whatever you want.
If you built the country, you can do what you want. Now, there is a caveat in this article. Basically, what they're saying is that they're going to do a hybrid. So people will be allowed to work from home for 3 days and have to come into the office for a couple of days, which means it's harder to work in Toronto and live in Welland or Niagara or Newmarket or Barrie or wherever Or you have to be ready for a decent commute, I suppose, because they're going to expect you to come in. Now, this article is from the United States, but I imagine the same. I mean, they've got offices here in Ontario and across Canada, so I imagine they will do the same thing here.
The reasoning behind it that they quoted in that article was in-office collaboration. I think that's the most general way to be able to describe why no business is going to be able to go completely remote unless you are just like a really, really, really heavy into tech type of company. And I know that Twitter and I think Facebook and a few of these other companies have already said that, but now we're talking about Google. Like, if Google is now saying they're going to have a hybrid model because they understand that their business was built on in-office collaboration and that this is what's even gotten them to where they were, maybe the other tech companies will change their tune as well. But when you're talking about these smaller companies, like 100 employees and stuff like that, and they start realizing that, their employees are not wearing any pants, or they're drinking too much, or they're not having these creative ideas anymore, or they're billing for overtime that they shouldn't have had to, or, all these different expenses once the whole year is complete and companies are really going to look at their income statements and stuff, I think that's when everyone's going to go, wait a second, hold on, this doesn't work. But back to the Zoocasa article, there are lots of people who are willing to drive because it could be a hybrid model. Welland at Niagara, 2 days a week, 100% people are doing that. No problem.
People have been doing that, right? Like we saw that.
They've been doing 5 days a week.
Yeah, back in 2017, we saw that, right? Because the GO station, right? Yeah, it's 2-hour GO train, which I would not do it, but a lot of people were just driving to Burlington, right? Which is 45 minutes away, and they were taking the GO train from Burlington to Union, right? But they were buying a house for fraction of the price in GTA. Right.
Yep. So what's the average price out there?
Well, it really depends on what area, but the average is close to $500,000.
That's for a single family detached home?
Single family detached home.
Bungalow or 2-story?
Yeah, probably be a bungalow, I would say. But then again, like there's new builds now that are going up for 600. Right, and they're completely sold out. Like right around the corner from my house, there's a big development, 100% sold out already. They haven't even put a shovel in the ground yet. So a lot of people, and it's not like we don't have a ton of people in that region. I mean, there's about 500,000 people, but so these people are coming from the GTA because we have no immigration right now. So we can't say that that's who's buying. So they're all coming from the big city.
Can you guys honestly imagine what will happen when 400,000 people come into the country in 1 year, of which 200,000 will be coming to Ontario? Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine what kind of mania that's gonna be?
It's gonna be insane. It's only gonna inflate rents and housing prices.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So we have an article here that says, and this is so typical of what we've seen since we've started our show. Canada 2021 housing forecast call for a boom, ... or the worst crash in 40 years. Here's the headline. So I mean, it's obvious if you watched our show at all. I mean, we don't know what's happening. Right? I watch every show about real estate that I can find. They don't know what's happening. Apparently, the person who wrote this article isn't completely sure what's going to come down the pipe.
50-50 either way.
Right?
Go.
But what do you think, Colton? From your research and your boots on the ground knowledge, what would you predict for 2021?
I think we're still going to see those smaller suburbs get more competitive. Prices are going to go upwards just because people are going to continue to leave. And then you're going to bring in 400,000 new people into the country. That's obviously going to help those areas as well, in my opinion. Unless we have another catastrophic event that takes place. Because the whole reason why the real estate market is booming right now is because interest rates are at historic lows. And the government has pumped in billions and billions of dollars into the economy. That's the only reason, right? We're not having an immigration boom or anything like that right now. So if we have another catastrophic event, rates can't go any lower. The government's just about tapped out. Their inks run dry, on how much money they can print, what could they do to help stimulate the economy? I mean, there's negative interest rates, there's a whole bunch of other programs they can try, but nothing has ever been tested or really experimented with that's worked. So bearing all that, as long as we don't have another catastrophic event, I think we're going to see a boom in the suburbs. And I think we are going to see the downtown condo market suffer a lot more in the next 3 to 6 months until it hits a bottom, until things start getting back to normal, where we're having concerts, shows, sporting events come back to the big city. Then that's going to draw more people back to the downtown core, again, in my opinion. So am I right? No one can predict the market. Who knows what's going to happen? But I just think that's what I'm seeing now. And that's what makes sense to me.
Makes sense. I like the your ideas. I think the small towns can't lose right now. As long as money's cheap and that no one needs to be in the city, small towns outside of the GTA are just going to continue to have people driving to them. And no matter what your situation is, it's cheaper outside of Toronto. Like no matter what, like I could have just got a job, I could be retiring, I could have been working at the same company for 20 years. No matter what it is, my expectations, because I'm in the city, so I know, okay, I got 500,000, I'm going to get a condo, and this 1 bedroom, and there's not enough room for me to, have a kid and all that stuff. Oh wow, I can get 3 bedrooms in Welland, or I can go to Barrie. Like no matter where you go, no matter if the market's up or down, it's always cheaper when you leave the GTA market, right?
Yeah,
and that's
these
why
smaller. Yeah, and these smaller cities were around years ago, and they're going to be around. Like they're still sustaining themselves now. So I just see more people coming, more people starting businesses, right? And that is hopefully going to grow the area.
And I think those can't lose. Those areas.
When I started my working career, I worked in a lumber yard, and we had a division that had a couple of guys in it that lived in Barrie. And they would commute back and forth all the time. This is 20 years ago, okay? More than 20 years ago, unfortunately. But these guys came back and forth from Barrie all the time. And what the company actually ended up doing is opening up a remote office in Barrie for the few people there, because the rent's cheaper. They had really talented people coming back and forth from Barrie. Is that something that... Like, are you seeing some more companies opening up offices out there? Do you see more warehouses being built out there? Office buildings? Is there more jobs being created out there?
Yeah, and I'll give you an example. In Welland, General Electric, GE, one of their subsidiaries opened a plant a year and a half ago in Welland. So that was a massive, massive factory that they built out there. And that's creating a lot of jobs. And there's word that other American companies want to come to Niagara region, because the thing the Niagara region has is a lot of land, and a lot of land that you can develop on, right? Like there's rumors that Fort Erie for years has want to build a NASCAR track. That's huge. They want to build an amusement park, right? There's a lot of new condominiums going up in Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, and Fort Erie.
Really tall ones too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not Toronto tall, but decent size apartments and condos, right? So there's a lot of development going on, a lot of money being poured into the area. So they know that the future is bright in Niagara. They're not going to pump millions and millions of dollars into it and be like, okay, I hope something happens. No, they know something's happening. A lot of companies are, like I said, bringing factories in, manufacturing. And it's been happening for a number of years now. Because Niagara used to be big on manufacturing, right, in the early 90s and early 2000s, and then everything just took a dive. Everyone left, and there was years where houses were being foreclosed upon in Niagara, right? You can get triplexes for under $100,000, right? Crazy things. Whoa. And then slowly started coming back, and that's what we're seeing now. And I think with more people from the GTA coming down, it's going to start more small businesses, more ideas, and we're going to start seeing more and more growth, in my opinion.
You got Waterloo, you got other places out in the West, London. These are all places that are growing. Windsor and stuff like that can only go up. And that's, creating more jobs, right? More people need to be out there and living in Niagara. And instead of commuting to Toronto, you're commuting to one of those other cities I just named. That's not so bad.
Yeah, right? Especially with the Go network just spreading everywhere and getting more efficient, more trains. Like, I agree. That's going to be huge. We got an article here that says real estate sales soar in every city as Bank of Canada juices the market, which is exactly what we're talking about. I mean, I don't think it's a secret, right? That, you know, people have more money than ever. The people that were in the housing market were not pushed out of the housing market. What's really interesting is we're seeing this ridiculous level of sales right now without the immigration. This is all inside demand, mostly inside demand, not all, but the majority is like internal demand from the country, emigration, not immigration. So, I mean, when they open up those floodgates, brace yourself, boys. It's going to be fun.
but
buy as many properties as you can before that.
That's right.
The thing too, though, is like a lot of it's coming from Toronto. We know this, right? So all the people who normally would be going into the condos are leaving the city. I don't know the numbers on this. I don't know how many people are moving around intercities. Like who is living in Barrie in a 3-bedroom has moved up to a 4-bedroom. Are those numbers up, or are those just typical? But I think the number one thing is what this shows is, yes, the money's there and that there's a need for people to leave the city and they don't need to be there anymore, is that people were not comfortable in the houses that they were living in. So they were in a smaller house, they were in a busy location, they were in an older, like whatever it was, something inside them was saying, this is not for me. It's just they didn't have any other options.
Yeah.
They had to be close to work.
Sure. I mean, listen, if you're stuck in a space where you can pee from the other room and hit the toilet, it's not going to be fun for a long period of time, no matter what.
Yeah, and paying $3,000 or $4,000 a month in rent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? When you can go an hour and 15 minutes away and actually have a house for less than that.
Backyard and a deck.
Backyard.
Oh my God, a garage.
You're living the high life.
Some storage space.
Yeah.
But just anecdotally, Colton, people that you know who are living in Welland and other areas, are they moving as much?
No.
Okay.
No, they might be, I mean, they're definitely
Typical.
Yeah, typical, right? They might, if they're looking at downsize, like for example, my parents, they sold their house to downsize, right? Kids aren't at home anymore, might as well. There's stuff like that for the baby boomers.
Into a
but
condo?
They're not moving.
Did they move into a condo?
No, not a condo.
You don't
Just
downsize to a condo in Welland. You go from the 4-bedroom down to the 3-bedroom.
That's right. That's it. Condo prices here are crazy. They're ridiculous anyways. For some reason, they're booming here because there's no inventory, right? People are getting whatever they can. But yeah, there's not a lot of movement like that. People definitely aren't leaving, but it's more the baby boomers downsizing, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And I think that's what I'm seeing, because I think that's always, like the market's great and sure, people are going to be buying and investors and all that kind of stuff. Money's cheap. Those things always work, but there's always a human behavior element. And that's always the catalyst to make the market go or freeze.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's got to be there. That's the element that has to be there. And in every market correction, like for example, March 17th, when the state of emergency was announced, everyone just went, whoa, I don't care how cheap it is. I don't care how much interest rates are. I don't care what I qualify for at this moment. I'm not doing nothing, right? And they were all sitting on their hands and the market stopped for 2 months.
Yeah, that was me. Hey, I was the same way. Like I said, I bought those 2 properties in 2 weeks. I probably could have bought more, but I was nope. Let's see how this plays out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was definitely a psychological barrier. That was an interesting time.
Sure. Toronto real estate experts say now is the time to rent a condo before prices go up again.
I saw that this morning. I saw that one.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I mean, I agree with Colton that we probably have another 3 to 6 months of pain in the downtown condo market in Toronto. That just makes sense. I mean, nothing will change until this vaccine is deemed successful and things open up more, right?
I think the worst is behind us in the condo market. That's my take. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't know how. Well, maybe they'll stay stagnant. I guess people that are still hanging on to their condos can afford to hang on to them for a few more months and not cave on price. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, It'd be hard to imagine it getting any worse. But the experts say, and I haven't met any of them ever. It is time to rent again. Listen, we were driving around yesterday with my family. We had nothing to do. So what we do now is we drive and find a place to get Chipotle and drive back home, which is exciting. But we were talking, like, my daughter's 18. She wants to move out. She has no job, no money, but she wants to move out. And now would be a really good time to get a cool place for people that are, leaving the nest, right? People that are looking to get out from, I guess, their roommates, or I imagine investors are probably thinking along the same lines as TK, that the worst is over. Now it's time to pour back in. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, from what I hear, rents have dropped anywhere from 20, some areas 30%, right? So if not more. So yeah, if you got, like you said, 18-year-old daughter who wants to move out on her own, now is, I guess, probably the best time in 5 years, 6 years maybe, to do that. And as long as they, those rent control things, right? All of a sudden when the things get better, okay, we're jacking up your rent $600 a month. That's would be my only concern. But
strategic renting. Got to find those older buildings, get the good deal, and hop in there for a few years.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
So we have also wave of new rentals coming to Toronto with 14 apartments proposed in 2020.
Yeah.
Now, if you read the article and you know anything about development, 14 apartments proposed. Now, a lot of them, if you go through it, have like 17 units, 80 units, 67 units. One of them has 3,500. Now, if you have a project with 3,500 units, it does not get built anytime soon, and it takes like a decade probably before these things are finished and built and people are moving into them. Now, if you total up all of the apartment units in this article, you come somewhere around 65 to 7,000 units, spread out over, at best guess, probably a decade.
Not a lot of inventory.
Doesn't seem like that would make much of a dent if we're going to bring in 1.2 million people in the next 3 years.
Yep. Hey, we're going to see another real estate boom. I'm pretty positive we're going to see that, right? Just there might be some short-term pain, but long-term, 1 million plus, get ready.
Get ready. Like no pain, no gain, right?
Yeah, especially interest rates are most likely going to stay very low for ever, unless we have a huge reset.
They've come out publicly numerous times saying at least until 2023.
Yeah, but if you look at projections of debt, up for Canadians, it's not all of a sudden, it's going to go back down. Okay, we can raise rates to 5% again.
No,
that's not going to happen.
No,
right?
It's going to go slow. And like, listen, when I first bought my house, I think I had a mortgage of 4.8%, 3.8%, and that was like high in my lifetime. It went up a little bit, it went down a little bit. My parents were at like 22%.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So like I can't even fathom for the next decade having mortgages that can be under 2-3%.
Especially when most Canadian, I think it's 75% of Canadians or something like that, have less than $1,500 in their bank account for savings. So if all of a sudden your mortgage term is up and they're going from 2% to 3%, good luck, right? I hope your job pays you an extra 10% a year. Well, it's not going to happen.
But by pumping all this money into the markets, basically what they're doing is they're giving people the ATM, right? Anybody that was smart enough to own something, own an asset, whatever the asset is, it's going to go up 100%. Well, unless you bought some stupid company like Nikola or something like that. Or Ignite. But anyway, as all these real estate prices go up, people do get wealthier, right? And if you have to, you can refinance, right? At a lower rate even right now. So, I mean, this is definitely the plan. They're going to inflate the market to a point where we can get out of this mess.
Yeah, but and that's going to just create a bigger wealth gap, right? Like I'm a firm believer that North America will be a renter's nation. It's no longer a homeowner's nation, right? If you don't own a home now, you're not going to own a home, or you're getting less and less likely to own a home. So just like much of Europe, nobody can afford to buy a home if you don't own a home already. You're gonna be renting for the rest of your life, and that's coming to North America. It's already, look, most cities are that way, right? And it's just going to keep happening throughout the smaller suburbs as well. So you give it 10 years from now, you're going to keep interest rates low. You're going to have to. Asset prices are just going to keep inflating. Wages are going to stay stagnant like they have over the last 15 years. And you're going to have a renter's nation. So
one of the topics that we've discussed over the last couple shows is the younger generations now and sort of their perspective on home ownership. And that changes, right? Like over time, right? Like if you were saying, I think you were 16, 17 years old, something like that. And you were hearing about people saying, you know, buying a house, this is the right way to go. And I wish I had done it. Is that going to be what the younger generations are going to be getting fed? Or is it going to be, you'll never own a home. It's a generation of renters. This is what you got to do. Figure out a way. Because there's so many people now who come up with these great formulas on how never owning a home and renting and investing and everything else too, and increasing people's financial literacy can actually get them more money, right? So when I was in high school, I mean, no one was talking about that kind of stuff. None.
Right. But I think the savvy and entrepreneurial spirited individuals will still find a way to buy assets, no matter what, right? I think they will. Rather it's they have to. I think a big trend we're going to see.
Are they going to be real estate assets, though?
I think so. They might have to partner with their best friend and buy a house with their best friend, right? People are doing that now, right? Or you might have to buy a big house and, you know, your parents have to move into one side and you move into the other, right? Like there's going to be ways for the younger generations to do it. I just think there's going to be a lot of excuses for most people, right?
I also see a trend that I mean, if you grow up in an environment where buy a house, get a job, buy a house, go to school, go to school, get a job, buy a house. You're stupid if you don't buy a house. You're paying somebody else's mortgage if you don't buy a house, blah, 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 blah. And it's possible, you know, you develop a certain mindset. But we're going into, like you're saying, a renter's world right now, right?
Eventually, yeah.
So, but I mean, if it seems like it's never going to be a possibility, if you're the type of person, like, yes, if you have entrepreneurial spirit and you're an investor and you're a risk taker, you're going to find a way for sure. But if you're a person who's satisfied with having a job, going to work every day, earning a good income, and just satisfied with that, it's getting harder and harder. So the mindset is going to change to, I'm fine renting. Right.
And that's majority of society, though, right? Majority of society is happy to go to school, get a job, rent. That's it. Right. Majority of people that's what it is. And that's where the wealth gap is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Right.
Yeah.
People who own assets are going to be much better off financially than those that aren't. So if you're not renting, find another investment vehicle. Right. You have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
rather it's the stock market or whatever it is, right? If you want to get into cryptos, you want to get into gold, so whatever it is, just don't have your money sitting in a bank account, because they might say inflation's 2% a year, but let's be honest, it's probably closer to 10, right?
I don't even know if 10's right. I mean, have you gone to the grocery store lately?
I just said that to my fiance. I said, I can't believe 6 lean ground burgers was $15.
It's absolutely insane.
And that was Freshco. That wasn't even high end.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what Whole Foods prices are these days.
Your whole wallet.
We used to buy everything organic and want to be super healthy, and now we're starting to say, like, you know what? Maybe we'll get healthier again later. Because my wife comes home every time and the grocery bill's so crazy. I can't, and it doesn't last any longer. The fridge is not any fuller than it used to be. If anything, I feel like we're running out sooner.
Yeah. That's inflation, right? And wages aren't growing either.
No, wages aren't growing because the robots are coming, and automation is already here. But
Yeah.
it is the truth. Automation is coming, and if people don't recognize that and don't go into industries and don't learn skills that can work with that, they're gonna be out of jobs. There's gonna be a gigantic shift in jobs. And I'm not saying there won't be jobs, but I mean, if you want to get into the restaurant industry as a server right now, it may not be the best idea in the world.
But these are all the things we're talking about, Darryl, and that's just one extra layer. If you're a teenager right now and you're in school and you're Colton circa 2010, and those professors and teachers and everybody else are saying these new things to you now, which is, hey, look, owning a home, you're going to be a slave to the mortgage, own all these other assets that are going to be, making you money. Automation's coming, so your job's not going to be as secure. So find something that, is going to be able to at least just give you the opportunities to get into these investment vehicles and figure out a way to, get out of the rat race before you even get in it, right? Like, I think that language is going to be coming more now, and it's going to help people. And that, sure, real estate as an investment and as rental properties go and everything else like that is always going to be existing for people who are willing to do it. But I think there will be a lot more options. I don't think it'll be black and white like it has been for my generation and before. It's either you go into real estate and have a job and just pay off your mortgage, or you own all these different investment vehicles, and then you'll be able to, retire earlier and get out of the rat race a lot sooner. I think people are going to know, like, strategically from day one, like, this is what I want to do, and I'm not going to get suckered into going to school for a long time to be able to get into one profession that doesn't change, and I'm just going to have to work this one job like my father, grandfather, whoever did. And I just hear that language a lot more now. That's what I'm saying.
We're
is I
seeing
think
that
that
too,
there's
right?
yeah,
Well,
We're seeing it.
it's also the
internet,
circles.
YouTube, all these people are all influencing everybody. And if you're young and impressionable, these are the time you're making these like, how many people are still signing up for $300,000 OSAP loans by the time they're done and going, I thought I was going to be okay. I mean, I thought I would just pay this off. I mean, I'm making $60,000 a year. How long is $300K going to take to pay off? Right? Like,
that's it. And that's it, right?
But it's also the circles that you associate yourselves in, right? I mean, look, you see it a lot because of the circles that you're in. Colton was smart enough to ask the right questions and be motivated enough to want that, and was lucky enough to have somebody who had the right answer for him. And that's not typical, especially in these older school systems, right? So I agree with you, TK. Don't get me wrong, but you have to be in the right place. Even, for example, a young kid on YouTube or on TikTok or on whatever service they're on, if they're not interested in that, it's not coming up, right? If they haven't put something into something or said something,
that would have been my next point, but you're right.
But the
algorithm's not giving them that information unless they're looking for it.
Listen, I get nothing about Biden anywhere, but everything is about Trump, right? But I like Trump, right?
Okay.
So I get nothing about Biden, right? But when I say something to my wife in passing, all of a sudden I have an ad for that on my phone, right?
Yeah.
So, but do you see what I'm saying? So, I mean, a lot of people, they're not so interested in real estate investment to a point where it's just going to pop up on their phone and there's going to be lessons from people that the kids trust right now teaching them that. You have to first be interested in it before you start getting inundated with the information. You have to look for the information. It doesn't just come at you, right?
So it's as accessible as ever, but it's not going to be found unless you start looking for it. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just that light bulb moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one thing for me. Like, I was kind of interested in the stock market, and then I took a class because I went to a business program, and this guy started talking about buying a house, living in the basement, renting out the upstairs. Right, that was my light bulb moment, right? And from there, it was, you just need that one moment,
right? And 99% of the people in the same room as you didn't get the light bulb or thought, ugh, what the hell do I want somebody living above me for? Or I don't want to live in the basement, or I don't want to fix the toilet, and I can't, and blah, 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 blah. Right? So like a magical thing kind of had to happen at that time in that space, right? I think. Look,
Yeah, must have.
in my generation, the information wasn't as readily available, and nothing triggered me until I was in my early 20s to want to get into this life, right? I didn't have a father in this life, so he didn't know, so I wasn't exposed to it until I was, and I needed that light to go off, right? And so, I mean, I wish my dad was a real estate investor so that I would have started way earlier, right?
Yeah.
But
You'd be taking it all over.
well, but it wasn't in the cards for me, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully my kids follow Colton's path and they save up and they invest wherever they can, put 10 grand, which I don't know where that's going to be. Actually, maybe Colton does. Colton mentioned something before we started that I found pretty interesting. Where else are you investing, sir?
Well, this year I partnered with a friend and we bought some land in Belize for future development.
Are you serious? Belize?
Yeah.
Nice.
Ambergris Cay.
I love Belize. Belize is my favorite place on earth. I'm not even joking.
Yeah. Yeah. And those lots were USD 14,000.
14,000 for what? What did you get?
50 by 100, I believe.
Not
lot.
on the water.
No, but it's like a 5-minute golf cart ride. Not even. So it's all raw land. There's no development there yet, but they're bringing in roads. You can see on Google Maps and stuff. They're bringing in roads. They're bringing in electricity and stuff like that. So this side of the island was known as like the local side, Secret Beach, because only the locals went there. And the opposite side of the island, which is not very big, you can get from one side to the other very quickly, is fully developed. Hilton, Marriott, Holiday Inns, all along the ocean. So just a matter of time, in our opinion, before all that comes to this side as well. And we took a risk and bought some land.
Is this like a deeded lot, or is this like you have the rights to the lot once everything gets developed?
Nope, deeded lot. So what's great about Belize is that it's under British law still. It's the only English-speaking country in Central America. Mm-hmm. So it's very similar to buying property here, right? Same laws, same rules, same deposits and all that stuff. A couple little different things, but the laws are the same. And that's what really attracted me to it. So we own it 100%. We can sell it. We can sell or finance them, sell them if we want. We can develop on them, whatever we want to do.
What's the plan?
What are taxes like in Belize?
60 USD a year.
Oh.
And then, and as long as if you make profit in there, you keep it in Belize, it's tax free, or I think 1 or 2% tax.
So what's minimal. The plan? What are you going to do there? What are you thinking?
So the plan is you're allowed to develop two 2-bedroom properties on each lot. So the plan is to essentially do that. A lot of retirees are moving out there and paying about $1,000 USD per month for a 2-bedroom, or your Airbnb. And you get these prefab homes, and they're around $40,000 USD. And that includes your cistern and your solar power and your generator and stuff like that. So the plan is to buy a couple lots. The ones that we really want, we'll develop on, kind of put Airbnbs or like little rentals on them. The rest of them will either sell or finance, or we'll flip them for whatever amount it is. So that's kind of it. Looking to buy more in 2021. It's just when they come up, we're going to buy them.
Amazing.
I like that.
Amazing.
Gentlemen,
we are at the hour mark. There are very few people still listening, if any. We really appreciate your time, sir. It was a great discussion. I think it was a great discussion. I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Colton, for being here.
Big time. Yeah. Thanks, Colton.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Yeah. Congratulations on your 1,000 subs, your 6 properties, your 18 doors, and your Belize endeavors. We wish you luck, my friend. Hopefully you will join us in a few months, maybe for a little update. I'll put a link to your YouTube channel in the description below. Anybody that wants any instruction or to learn from this fine gentleman, please go on to his channel and subscribe. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome.